Hi,
Hi,
welcome to Quiett Mom Talks. I'm Zoe,
I'm Robin.
and today we are talking about concussions or brain injuries because September is Brain Injury Awareness Month.
I was about to say happy.
It's not happy.
We're not saying happy.
I'm like happy, yeah, because we're like spreading awareness and making people more educated about it and trying to help other people who like live with brain injuries and stuff like that, but not happy,
Celebrating the brain
like
injury.
happy
We'll celebrate
Easter or Christmas
the
or something
awareness.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So I say happy Friday, happy Monday. Today's happy Monday. So we'll just start there. So we're going to talk about concussions. Concussions are really.
Concussions specifically, just because that's what I know the most about, because that's what I've dealt with and that's what you've learned about.
I've learned a lot
yeah.
about concussions even before you had a concussion because
you only did a little
I
bit
did a little bit
before.
before.
Yeah.
But because Theron was a football player since he was 5, and Zoe's first concussion was when she was in 5th grade.
Yeah.
So he was probably 5th grade. That makes you like 10. That would make him about 8.
Yeah.
So I think it was C-level football that year. And Zoe had a concussion. And I didn't expect the concussion.
Nobody expected me to be the first one in the family with a concussion. Everyone expected Theron to have a concussion.
Well, yeah, because
he was the one,
playing
like, he was in football,
team sports
he was in
and tackle,
baseball, and all of the not all of the things where he would get like hit in the head, but he was in football.
He was in the most contact sports. The only sport.
I was just a dancer.
Although dance is one of the sports that does get a lot of concussions.
Which
like
is
it
funny
shows up on
because
the radar.
only one of my 7 concussions was from dance.
And the first one was not from dance, by the way.
That's what's super funny to me.
Sorry, I'm messing with my mic still.
It's okay.
No, the first one was from the playground.
Yeah, at recess in elementary school.
I honestly think the apparatus that you got hurt on has been taken out of most playgrounds. Is it still in the playground?
No, it's not still at my elementary school.
They took it out?
They took it out not soon after I got my concussion.
It wasn't soon, but it was after.
But it was like,
I think it was probably COVID.
It might have been COVID, but I feel like it was a little bit before COVID. I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
It's not there anymore. Nobody else can get concussed from it.
So picture, it was I don't even know what it was called. Like a jungle gym.
I always call it a metal igloo looking thing.
A metal igloo.
It looked like a metal igloo.
So it's one of those domes with
like
the bars.
A monkey bar metal igloo.
And it had a bunch of triangles stuck together. It created a dome.
Yeah.
And kids would climb up on them. We had one when I was in elementary school.
And of course, it was October. It was a rainy day in Washington. And I slipped and I hit my mastoid process, which is like the most fragile place of your head almost, and got fluid in my brain. And
so
here we are.
She slipped because she was walking, like balance beam walking style, right? On the top of this igloo that was probably 5 feet in the air.
I was on the bottom. I was on the one that was literally like this far off of the ground. And I had my hand out up towards the other side of it so that I could reach if I needed to grab on because I lost my balance. Obviously, that didn't work too great because I slipped and somehow, I don't know exactly what happened. I haven't really talked to my friends who were there, but like somehow flipped over the bars, ended up like inside of the middle of them. I had hit my head. The recess teacher heard it from across the whole like recess area. She came running over. I don't remember anything until her standing over me, practically yelling at me if I'm okay.
Which, no offense to recess teachers, because I have some really good friends who are recess teachers, but
yikes.
Everybody's been yelled at by a recess teacher. And even the good girls, like myself, I had a healthy fear of the recess teachers.
Everybody's afraid of the recess teacher. Except for the people who should be afraid of the recess teacher. They don't care. They're just like,
they're not
what are you going to do to me?
Yeah, they're not afraid of anybody. But so now the vision that I have in my head of how it happened has changed because it doesn't matter.
5 feet in the air, Mom.
I had you like tightrope walking on the top and then slid down. And I'm like, why do they even?
And the best part is there was like 4 of us there and we were all like not strategically planning it, but we were the smart kids, the good kids. It was me, Natalie, Hannah, Carissa, Jaden. I don't think Jaden was still there at that point, but whatever. And Aiden was there.
All my
And
girls.
we were like going one at a time, trying
You're
to
being
balance
careful.
walk on this very bottom bar, and like
You were taking turns.
we had whoever was on the bar, somebody else was standing like
there
outside
to catch
next
you
to them too. So we had all of the bases covered. It's not like we were just
except for falling
going
in
crazy
to the thing.
Right, but I didn't think that was gonna happen, because how are you gonna fall in when they're like this big of little spaces? And like I had my hand out to catch me.
Everybody who falls doesn't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't care. Maybe if you like are I don't even know. But rarely is there a fall that somebody's I was ready.
I was ready for
sometimes
it.
you are ready for it. But anyways, so
Concussions.
It doesn't matter how it happened. It's a funny story probably. But I'm sure people over the country over the last 20 years have seen playground situations change because of injuries.
And then you have all of the sports situations and sports rules and regulations and like padding and helmets and all of that stuff that changes with it too. Everything changes for concussions.
Yes.
Like, not everything changes, but everything has changed for concussions because we know more now than we used to. We know now about CTE and more of the long-term effects of concussions and how to hopefully try to prevent them. There's nothing.
You can't prevent concussion. And actually, even all the things that people think are supposed to prevent concussions.
Yeah.
Helmets, the little soft, cushy helmet that goes on the outside of the helmet. I used to call them Game Breaker helmets because that was the brand that we used. Now there's other brands. But they are those, the
helmets only do so much. That's
helmets,
the biggest
actually,
thing.
if you look at a box on a helmet from a football helmet, or the sticker on it, it doesn't say that it's meant to prevent concussions.
It says it's meant to prevent your skull from being broken.
The purpose is to prevent a skull fracture.
Yeah.
And when you get a concussion, the other thing about a concussion is there's no diagnosis for a concussion. There's no way for us to know. When you go in to get like a CT scan or an MRI or any imaging or any testing that they do, the imaging and things like that is to rule out things like a fracture or a bleed that could possibly happen or things like that. We can't really see brain swelling or anything like that. The other thing about concussions that a lot of people don't think about is even if your head doesn't impact anything in like maybe instances of like race car drivers or things like that's the most extreme course.
You don't have to hit your head on something to
get
a concussion.
If you stop abruptly, which that's why I think of race car drivers because they have their helmets and their helmets are connected to their little Hans device so that their heads don't whip around. But your brain still moves in your head. And if you are even like people who have car accidents that are rear-ended in car accidents or have whiplash, a lot of times whiplash is accompanied by having a concussion. And it's not because your brain actually hit anything, just the movement of your head. Whiplash it
causes your brain to bounce
around. The reason why I'm rolling my eyes is because it's not like very anatomically the way that I'm explaining it, but whatever.
Well, but your brain, like, when you get a concussion,
terms is your brain or your neck does this and your head flings around and your brain is not connected to the inside of your skull.
Yeah.
So your brain moves
only connected,
at a different
like, to the brainstem.
Yeah, your brain moves at a different inertia than your skull. So if you stop your head by your neck muscles holding your head in place, your brain is still moving. It has its own inertia, so it will hit the outside of your skull. So that could also cause a concussion.
And people like to forget that the concussion is not your head. The concussion is your brain. Like, it's not something your head is not broken. Your skull is not affected. You
can't see it.
Yeah.
You can't test for it.
It's internal. It's in your brain. And it doesn't matter how many times you hit your head or where you hit your head. Everyone is going to have a different susceptibility to concussions, especially if you are somebody like me who has had multiple concussions, because then even the simplest thing is, I don't know, sneezing too hard could potentially give you a concussion. Like, it doesn't have to be an impact. It's just the movement of your brain hitting up against your skull. It's internally happening. So it's if you were to take a hard-boiled egg in the shell and you put it in a jar with a little bit of water. The jar's a little bit bigger than the hard-boiled egg, and you take it and you shake it around like this, all crazy. That eggshell is going to crack. it's going to essentially bruise the egg. And that's what's causing the concussion. Not anything to do with the jar around the egg, with the egg itself. With the brain itself.
Yes. But because I wasn't following your analogy.
My analogies are like for little kids most of the time, because 99% of the times when I have to make up analogies, it's in a dance class and they're children.
It's okay. But the thing about brain injuries is that what Zoe said that I want to highlight is that there's no algorithm. That's not the right word, but there's no recipe for the correct for what's going to cause a brain injury. You could have one person that has an acceleration level of something and an impact level of something else.
All the statistics could be exactly the same for two different people.
And their results are going to be different. One may have a concussion, one may not. One may have a concussion that takes a really long time to heal, and the other one might be healed a lot faster. We've seen like NFL players recover from concussions in 3 or 4 days, which sometimes, no offense to the NFL, because
yeah, that is.
However, those men are grown men that can make their own decisions, and they have millions and millions of reasons to push the envelope and try to work harder and work through the concussion if they still have a concussion or whatever. So there's a reason for that. And people, and this is my little spiel that I could go on and on forever. But people criticize certain players who've had concussions, and they're like, oh my gosh, they shouldn't be doing that. They should be an example, which I may have said that when my kids were little. But these people are grown men. They do. It's like saying Taylor Swift shouldn't be sexy because she started when she was 13.
If somebody has back problems or hand problems or something problems from a job that they do to make money, that they like to do, that they make good money, like, why would you tell them to just stop doing that? Like, just deal with the problem, manage the symptom.
It's the difference with concussions is that you only get one brain.
Yeah.
If your brain is injured, we've seen some really severe brain injuries happen and really severe things happen. However, when it comes to when we're comparing adults who are injured and how they treat their injury to high schoolers or to children, how we as parents, coaches, and athletic trainers treat children, it's not the same. We cannot say Luke Keeley was healed in this amount of time and so-and-so was this amount of time. But Sidney Crosby took forever to heal, came back and played. So there's so many, and sorry if I ruin anybody's names. We are not, this is our disclaimer that we are not medical people. We're not medical. These are all of our opinions, and a lot of our opinions are just made up in our head and from social media.
Literally, like most of this stuff is just made up in our heads or just from experience.
And this is,
to be fair though, a lot of the concussion stuff like is real stuff that I have learned at one point or another from one doctor or like therapist.
When we first started dealing with Zoe's concussions, and when I first started learning about concussions, when Theron was in Pee-wees, and I was the player safety coach, a USA football coach, and I was the player safety coach. And I learned from their trainings about concussions and injuries and concussions have always been the hot topic issue. It's always about concussions and head injuries, although there are more injuries in football than concussions and head injuries. And
that's just always like the most common one that everyone wants to talk about.
And there are other sports that have a high number of concussions,
even maybe a higher number.
When I took the course, when I went to I meant to look up the name of the doctor who I took a workshop from, but I'll come back later maybe and put his name in, name drop him. But he was in a very high profile case here in Washington State that a football player was injured, got a head injury, and was put back in the game later on. And he got a second concussion, and he had severe brain damage that lasted for a very long time. He's still probably dealing with it. When I was at the trainings, however long ago had been past a while. Like the concussion bill in the state of Washington was named after this kid, either the kid or the doctor. I don't remember. Anyways, the purpose of me talking about this is because now in the state of Washington, there is a law that if you have a head injury, you are not allowed to go back into the game until you are cleared by a doctor.
Yeah.
If you do, the school, everybody on that field, including the officials, the coaches, the parents, the trainers on down are liable for your injury. So that's why we're so serious with concussions when it comes to
and like why shouldn't we be
them.
like in all seriousness, like why this might sound crazy to some people, but why would we treat concussion symptoms or concussion possibility or brain injury possibility any less serious than, I don't know, chest pain,
right?
A heart problem?
We should treat it
still just as important. Like you need your brain to do almost more than your heart does. Yeah, your heart keeps you alive every second of every single day.
Let me correct you.
But
this is my child. I grew her and I trained her. The brain is more important than the heart. The brain is the most important.
I was literally just about to say, but you need your brain to control your heart.
Yes.
Like you can't do your heart without your brain.
Yeah.
It don't work.
I love how you said that. You can't do your heart without your brain.
Yeah, like you need your brain for every single thing. You can't talk without your brain, breathe without your brain, heart without your brain. Nothing is gonna work without that thing in your head. Guys, I've had a weird day.
I'm sorry, you just said heart without your
I did.
You can't heart without your brain. It's true.
Your heart.
How many concussions?
7.
Okay, so let's get back on topic and serious. We didn't look at the clock when we started. We didn't set a timer either, so we'll try not to get too distracted. Hopefully, if nothing else, this is a nice comic relief. Anyways,
heart without your brain.
But concussions, sometimes there are the concussions that when you... where I was going a little bit ago when I started talking at some point, never got there, but is that every concussion takes a different amount of time to heal. And every concussion, we used to treat concussions. We now treat concussions a little bit differently than we did when Zoe got her concussion.
My first concussion.
Which was treated probably a lot differently than like concussions 10 years prior to that. Because we went from just rub some dirt on it and go back in there.
Years prior from.
It's 10. Wait, I'm saying before.
This is 10 years later.
Concussion.
Okay, never mind.
Before
continue. Sorry.
It used to be like, oh, he just got his bell rung, put him back in, he'll be fine. And then we realized that you can't just power through a concussion.
No.
A concussion is one of those things that you
not
can't
like a
power
sore
through.
muscle.
It's not a sore muscle that you can work out or that you can keep going. You wouldn't go out running on a broken ankle. You might go out running. You might put somebody in the game with a sprained ankle,
right.
But you wouldn't if there was a broken bone that you could see broken and sticking out of the leg. A concussion, you can't see it.
Here's where I think about it. This is another weird analogy.
I never got to my point.
Then get to your point.
No, go.
So if you have a bruise, it doesn't bother you most of the time, right? Until you touch it. If you have a concussion, it's probably not going to bother you unless you mess with it and you do stuff that you shouldn't do with it. If you have a concussion or a brain injury and you're doing something and it hurts or it makes you feel bad, you probably shouldn't do it. Therefore, you shouldn't just push through and go back into the game.
And when you think about a brain injury, like people are like, oh, you got to lay low. Oh, you can go when you lay low, when you're sick, what do? You scroll on your phone, you watch TV, you read, you do really like low energy, low active type stuff.
Low physicality.
With concussions, all of that stuff is not
taken
allowed.
Away.
So when Zoe had her concussion, she was not allowed to do anything. She wasn't supposed to be on her phone. She wasn't supposed to be watching TV. She wasn't supposed to be in a light room. She wasn't supposed to be around flashing lights.
No
reading.
There's
all of these, no reading, no studying, no nothing. Like she was supposed to be dark. And we didn't do super, super well at keeping her completely down, but she still stayed a lot more down than she does. Like she was a dancer that danced.
Low stimulation.
Yes. She danced like 20 hours a week at that time.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep athletes out of their sport and out of life because what we noticed, and when I'm saying we, I'm saying like the concussion researchers, I'm not one of those we's, but what they noticed was that when an athlete, especially most of the athletes that they're tracking, people who are getting concussions, they're super active kids and they take everything away from them. So not only are they injured with a brain injury that affects all of your functions,
emotional,
including
physical,
your
cognitive.
emotions and everything, and she was like 12 when it happened. And a lot of the times these are the teenagers, which your brain is already going crazy, the way it's managing your emotions and managing all the things that you're dealing with as a teenager. So all of these things are happening, and now we're taking all of their favorite parts of their life away.
Yeah.
And so what they realized after some years of treating it like this is, although we thought we were doing good because that's the only way to give the brain a rest, but what we were doing is we were psychologically affecting the kids because they were taken out of everything. And so they already got injured.
I hated it. I remember when my first concussion, like when I started to feel better and I was like, okay, I want to start doing stuff again. You were like, okay, but you can't do this and this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, then what am I supposed to do? Go to school, come home and be like hibernated again?
And even going to school was probably not the best choice. So what we found...
I stayed out of school for at least that rest of that week.
What they found is that there's got to be a balance, because we can't take the kids completely and move them out of their world, because that's not good for the brain either, because psychologically it's too much of a... throws things into
and the brain just does better when there's routines.
And the brain does better with routines. So what we found during Zoe's, I don't know, second or third concussion, new research had just come out.
Mostly in my third. We did it a little bit with my second because I did the return to play for that.
We did the return to play. I think we did I don't remember. But we have the return to play scenarios, which usually take about 5 days, that you start just with a little bit of
5 days minimum.
5 days minimum.
It's a
5-day cycle, because if you miss one of the days, then you go back to the beginning. So you
Not back to the beginning, back one.
No, you go back. Yeah, the way it's supposed to be is you're supposed to go back to the beginning.
Maybe it was just because the only one that I had to go back on was
the first
and second step.
So anyway, so you do that, but then what we learned through some of whenever it was is that a little bit of physical activity is better. To keep just a little bit of cardio, 20 minutes a day of light cardio. And the doctor's like just a walk, or maybe a little bike ride with low intensity if you have, not on a bike, but like on a stationary bike or something, just to keep.
I was gonna say,
don't go out on a bike if you have a concussion. Bad idea. But especially on a return to play.
Don't go on a walk by yourself if you have a concussion. If you're doing that,
do not do risky
behaviors. Do it with somebody else.
Okay, hold on. Coaches, this is my PSA. Coaches who are varsity or JV coaches who send their injured reserve players.
Gosh.
Oh, I'm the headlinesman on the officiating crew, and I have the chains. I've kicked guys off of my chain crew when they tell me what, because it's usually injured freshmen or whatever that are on the chain crews of the lower sub varsity levels. And I ask them, because the first time in the middle of a game, this kid's, something about a concussion. And I was like, are you on concussion protocol? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, get off the field.
Yeah.
We're in the action. Sometimes it doesn't happen often, but sometimes the chain crew gets run over. And I'm like, I will not have you in my responsibility. And I was like, coach, you need to get me a new player, somebody who's not on concussion protocol. Like, I would rather a kid who's on crutches to be on chain crew than a concussion protocol kid.
Yeah.
I just feel like that, and I think it's just because I'm too sensitive.
Especially if they're like on crutches with a cast.
And I'm like, it's not that I don't think that they're safe.
Scary. No, that's not safe. I don't think that they're safe.
I don't think that they're safe either, because they're like, oh, I'm on day 5 or I'm almost ready to go back. Yeah, but if you get hit again.
Yeah, and you're also still like unprotected and don't have any pads on and don't have a helmet on and not ready for it.
So anyways, so that's what we found is, so now the concussion protocol, they're saying that it's better to have some regular physical activity.
One thing about the concussion protocol, so if you're a person who's not in high school and you want to do some sort of like concussion protocol or return to play type of thing, like you want to build yourself back up, only do it to the point where your symptoms don't get bad. So if you are I want to go for a little bit of a walk because I'm feeling okay right now.
We're not doctors. We're not telling you how to treat yourself.
This is just the advice that my physical therapist gave me when I was in concussion therapy for the 3rd time. Don't push yourself more than 2 points past where you started. So if you're starting and you're like, my headache, my dizziness, all of this stuff's probably like a 3 right now. If you're walking and you start to get up to a 4 and it goes up a little bit more, you're going to turn around and go back home because you don't want to push yourself too far because that's going to ultimately just push you back and set you back.
Yes. And let's also be clear, you should be doing concussion treatment with a
doctor,
concussion specialist. I am a huge proponent of using concussion specialists, not just a doctor. Somebody who is at least
not necessarily concussion specialist, because those are very few and far between, but somebody
who's experienced with concussions.
Yeah.
So I think his name was Stanley, but anyways, the doctor that I talked to, he's do not see anybody who's not a concussion specialist. If I don't know them, I don't want you seeing that person, and that's his people. But it's really hard if you live in a rural area, and we don't really live in a rural area.
Insurance or the referrals.
We live in an area where there's not that many providers, and it takes a long time to get to concussion specialists. This doctor's in Seattle. If I took him to, it would take a whole day for us to get over there, spend the day doing whatever treatment, and then getting home. Yeah. So it's hard to do that. But find somebody who at least knows and has some specialist quality in concussion and has worked it. Don't just go to your regular doctor and assume that they know everything. Do the best you can to get a specialist, somebody who has extra training. Or at least
a neurologist. Yeah. At least a neurologist.
And there are a lot of lower level therapists, and this is going to come out.
Like vestibular therapy.
This is going to come out bad, but like people who might not be doctorate therapists, but who have some concussion training.
Yeah, I will say there's a lot of PTAs.
Yeah.
Do a lot, not necessarily specialize in different things, but because they're PTAs, they get the ability to work with multiple different people with different
and there
specialties.
are some continuing education programs and things that physical therapists, physical therapy assistants, and even massage therapists can take and learn some specialized treatments and things like that. So it's always good to find somebody who's taken something that you can trust. Always double check any alternative type therapies with your doctors who know your whole history.
And do your research about not just your doctors, but also your symptoms. Because the more that you know, like, you might go in there and thinking that it's one thing because of what you read online, and you have all of these reasons and proof and all of the stuff of why, but the doctor's then going to be like, yeah, I can hear your point, but this is why I think that's not. And I had this happen to me actually like twice in an appointment. I brought up 2 things that I wanted to talk about, and I was like, these are some things. And then she came around and she was like, yeah, I can understand why that would make sense with your symptoms and how everything lines up. But here's this reason why I don't think that's it. And she'd like pointed it out and specifically said, that's probably not that. That's definitely not a problem or a concern for me. So doing your research about what you think might be going on and about what you're actually feeling is going to be helpful, because you might not be able to get the same answers if you're not being like completely honest and understanding of what you're feeling. Because if you don't know that like your dizziness is actually your balance, then that's going to make it harder.
Well, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of information. Doctors go to doctor school for a long time. For a reason.
Medical school.
And so when we take our symptoms in, and I used to call it, gosh, what did I say? I don't know, but we take it used to be called WebMD before now, but we take our like YouTube University doctor degree or whatever into our doctor's office and like, I have this and this is why. Realize that the doctors, they've learned and studied this. Sometimes some doctors get stuck in their routine and in what they always see and always do. And that's sometimes a good thing to bring up. I saw this. Could it be this? It's good to help your doctors, but it's also good. The point is what I'm trying to say. It's good to be collaborative. So don't go in and tell your doctor, I have this and I need this treatment.
No.
But go in and say, I noticed this. This is what I've researched. Have you thought about that? And chances are they already have. Or you're going to trigger something back in their brain from medical school or from a workshop that they took. And they're like, oh, you know what? Let me think. Let me look at something. And they'll pull up some other labs that they can compare to. And they'll go, yeah, that's a good point. But this tells us no, or whatever. So just be mindful and open-minded when you go in, and don't think that you're the expert, because you're the expert on you. The doctors are the expert on the treatment. Basically, what we wanted to do is bring some awareness to concussions, talk about our experience, give you a little bit of advice, but our advice is like personal advice. It is not at all anything like, please do not put yourself in danger. Always check with your doctor. Always check in with yourself. Pain is your body's reminder and warning signs. So if you have pain in your body and it gets worse in anything, whether it's a concussion or anything else, be mindful of that and pay attention to it. If you do have a concussion, if there is a head injury, take it seriously.
Go to the doctor.
Zoe?
I will always say, if you get hit in the head, if you think that you're having concussion symptoms, go to urgent care, because honestly, the worst that they can do is say that you're okay and send you home, and then you follow up with your doctor in a little bit and see if you're actually still okay or if you're still having problems.
Or they can give you a doctor's note that says they were evaluated for concussion and probably should take it easy for the next 3 days.
Exactly. Like, it's important to get treatment, because if you have a concussion and you go to the doctor, they can give you the note and you can take the time off work, and it can be paid time off, because you need to. You need to let your brain recover.
The other thing, too, is that you only have one brain.
Yeah. You've only said it like 4 times.
And they don't make casts for brains.
No.
There's nothing.
The best option you've got to fix your brain is surgery. And trust me, nobody wants to go through brain surgery. That sounds miserable.
And I don't even know if there is a
There's not a concussion brain surgery. No. Nope. Don't exist.
Brain surgery happens, but usually not for concussions. Just be mindful, be careful, use your safety devices. Use the extra safety devices. We are looking at other sports, and other sports, they have the little headband thingies that they wear in certain sports like soccer and stuff like that. But
okay, seriously, I'm fading fast. I have to go.
And realize that some of the things that Zoe's dealing with is probably partly from her concussions.
Most of the things that I am dealing with are probably from my concussion.
So there's a lot of post-concussive syndromes and things like that we want to make sure that we're mindful of. And get some sleep. I am saying this to the teenagers that have concussions here, because
oh my gosh, yeah.
Sleep is one of the best things for your brain.
I swear I slept 10 hours every day when I had my concussion, at least.
Sometimes more than that, but that's definitely the best thing that you can do, because your brain gets a break. And so like they say, like when somebody gets knocked out, that's one thing that I learned in one of the classes, is that
sometimes
that's not
it,
necessarily a
resets your
bad
brain.
thing, because it's like getting a reset.
Which is funny, because like totally unrelated note, because some people with POTS, if they like sometimes pass out, sometimes don't. If they pass out, not everyone, but some people, when they pass out, they feel better than if they don't pass out. They feel like they've been like reset and
you
like
get, like,
woken
a
up.
Reset.
Yeah.
Well, I can see that. But so just because somebody passes out doesn't necessarily mean that they have a concussion. So that's another warning sign that I learned. And so sometimes it can be a good thing, because it gives, anyways. But so this is, what is it? Brain Injury Awareness Month?
September is Brain Injury Awareness Month.
Brain Injury Awareness Month.
So we wanted to talk about concussions, and yeah.
So
there's so much more that we like didn't get to at all.
No, there's not. But nobody has time for that.
Yeah.
And we just, hopefully,
if you want to hear it, just
let us know. We can talk more.
Yeah.
But hopefully we were at least a little bit entertaining for you tonight.
I hope.
We always go off on our tangents. If you are a person that gets distracted or
my
ADHD
was definitely impacted by my concussions. That's for sure.
Yes.
Drop on that one.
Actually, Zoe was the one, she kept my ADHD in check. And I'd be like, Zoe, have you seen my slippers? And she'd be like, oh, they're blah, blah, blah. She would know exactly where I left things.
Yep.
And after a few concussions, that went away. That went away. It definitely has heightened Zoe's ADHD, but it's fine. We have so much fun with it. So
fun is one word.
If you doubt that we have ADD or are prone to squirrel trails, watch this again and tell me that we are not. So have a good night, you guys. Thanks for coming in. Like, share, do all the
comments,
button thingies,
follow,
increase our algorithms and make us seen. We have missed you. We're sorry it's been so long since we've been in. Actually, I still have 3, I think, podcasts that I have not
only 2
released because I can't figure out how to get them the way I need to get them. So hopefully this one will go out this week, because it's been weird. So if not, Zoe is recording it on her phone, so it will show up on TikTok. And we'll share it from TikTok.
It won't be the full
to other
version
places.
on TikTok.
So
it'll just be
a shortened version. But we will figure it out. And I think because you recorded it, don't
either
delete
way,
it.
I hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. But there is a timer on there. That was not too bad.